Welcome to the Tillotson Video Education Series. Today we're going to show you how to repair a Tillotson carburetor. We're using one of our new racing carburetors, the Tillotson Avenger HW10, but the steps we'll follow apply to most of our other racing carburetors. The first thing you'll need is the proper repair kit. You can use either the complete RK series repair kit, which includes the gaskets and diaphragms as well as the inlet needle and inlet seat, or you can use a DG series kit, which includes only the diaphragms and gaskets, if you don't need to replace all of the inlet items. For this demonstration, we'll be using a complete RK series repair kit. So if you're using just a DG kit, be certain to retain the pieces not included in the kit. The next step is to make sure you have all the tools you'll need. We recommend the following: a bowl with a little gasoline for soaking the new diaphragms and gaskets. This helps the carburetor seal better prior to installation on your engine. We're filming indoors, so we won't actually be using gasoline. A fixture to hold the carburetor, if one is available. If you don't have one available, you can make one with two pieces of wood attached to each other at a 90-degree angle and two bolts aligned to the carburetor mounting holes. A 5/16" hex T-bar, a torque screwdriver, one small and one medium slotted screwdriver, a pop-off tester to test your handiwork at the end. You can purchase one of these from TillotsonRacing.com or your local dealer. It's also handy to have on hand some compressed air to blow out any debris from the carburetor. Now that you have everything handy, it's time to get to work. First, put the carburetor on the fixture. Using a slotted screwdriver, remove the screw that holds the white filter cover in place. Under the cover are two components: a cork gasket, which you can throw away because a new one is included in the kit, and a metal screen, which you should save for reassembly. Be careful removing the screen, and you can blow it out with your compressed air to remove any debris. Next, using your torque screwdriver, remove the 6 screws that hold the head covers on. Carefully separate the two metal heads. In between, you will find a gasket and a pump diaphragm, which you can discard. Under the covers are the metering diaphragm and metering gasket, which you can also remove. Occasionally, the metering gasket may stick to the body of the carburetor. Be careful removing the gasket and any pieces that do stick so as not to damage the body. Inspect the body of the carburetor to make sure there is no damage. Now it's time to remove the inlet needle assembly. Start by removing the screw that holds the inlet lever in place, and then gently lift off the lever. Be careful, under the lever is a spring which can fly off. Once you have the assembly out, separate the needle, lever, and fulcrum, the little bar inside the lever. Save the spring and fulcrum for reassembly. Discard the needle and lever. Now, using the T-bar, unscrew the inlet seat. Remove the seat by tipping the carburetor upside down and shaking it vigorously. You can discard the inlet seat. Under the seat is a copper washer, which should also be removed and discarded. If it's stuck, you can use your small screwdriver to gently pry it out. Now that you have the carburetor disassembled, inspect the inside thoroughly to make sure there is no damage. Blow out the inside of the carburetor with compressed air if available. Also inspect the various parts of the pump cover one more time to make sure they are clean and free of debris. Pay close attention to the ridges on the pump cover. If there is any damage, the carburetor may not seal properly. Blow out the covers with compressed air if available. Inspect the inside of the filter cover to make sure it is also clean and free from debris. You can blow it out with compressed air just to be sure. Now we're ready to begin reassembling the carburetor. If you have a bowl with gasoline, drop the new gaskets and diaphragms into the bowl for a few seconds. You can do this before you start disassembling the carburetor if you want them to soak for a little longer. Next, we'll put the parts back in the opposite order that we remove them. First, insert the new copper washer, and then screw in the new inlet seat. Next, carefully set the inlet spring back into the spring hole. Take the new inlet lever and notice that there is a little dimple on one side. This dimple will rest on top of the spring, so make sure it is lined up properly when the time comes. Slip the fulcrum bar on the new inlet lever and insert the new inlet needle onto the fork of the lever. Carefully place the subassembly onto the spring, holding it down with one finger. Attach it with the screw from the old assembly that you saved. Make sure that the lever is flush with the floor of the carburetor. If it's too low, below the floor, it will press against the bottom and you will have an insufficient fuel flow. If it's too high, it will press against the metering diaphragm and cause the carburetor to flood. Now it's time to add the metering gasket and diaphragm. First, put on the metering gasket. It only goes on one way. Next, you're ready to add the metering diaphragm. Inspect it first to make sure it's not bent or creased. Then insert it with the metal metering piece facing down toward the inside of the carburetor. Next, put back on the bottom part of the pump cover. It also goes on only one way with the ridges facing up. Insert the new pump gasket and pump diaphragm from the kit. Again, these each go on only one way. Replace the top of the pump cover. Place the 6 screws back in and tighten them in a crosswise fashion. Put back on the filter screen that you saved and the new cork gasket. Replace the fuel filter cover, which can be attached in whichever direction is most suitable to you. Now you're ready to test your handiwork. Attach the carburetor to the pop-off valve at the filter cover. Pump the tester until the needle releases or pops off, making note of the values at which the needle pops off and reseals. If the needle is drifting, it means the carburetor is not sealing properly. This can be caused by a number of different reasons. The most common reason is that the new diaphragms and gaskets were too dry. The remedy for that problem is to put the carburetor on the engine and run it. Once the fuel flows through the carburetor, it should moisten the diaphragm and gaskets, and the carburetor should seal properly. If you retest the carburetor and the needle is still drifting, there is probably something wrong in the interior of the carburetor. The inlet needle may have been installed too high or too low. There may be some debris under the needle, or there may be damage to the ridges on the metal covers or the diaphragms or gaskets themselves. Inspect all these parts carefully to determine the problem. Congratulations! You've just learned how to service your Tillotson racing carburetor. Join us next time when we show you how to maintain the adjustment needles.